Hey folks, TK here. Now I do apologise for the delay in videos. It's been a wee bit hectic in the last couple of months. I'll just go to the garage right now. But as you'll see, my hair's grown out a little bit longer since the last time I was actually doing any of these recordings. So, hello dog. So yeah, again I apologise for the month delay. I have been on the road up around the North Island as part of my tuning tour. So yeah, without further ado, we'll get into these next two cars very soon. But obviously, I've got one more video to come out before the North Island trip gets released. I believe it's going to be a 4-part series, going with how many cars that I'd done and how many cars that I'd covered, which was 2,800 kilometres by the time I got back to my driveway. But anyway, I'll stop talking about that and we'll get into the next bit, which we've got a Stage 1 998, which she's very hungry. The next one is a 1275 GT, been fully restored by a local here in Christchurch. He's done an absolutely fantastic job on it, but unfortunately it has did show signs of oil burning, which you'll obviously see later on in the video. But yeah, anyway, we'll carry on, we'll get into it, and we'll see what these cars have to offer. So here we have lovely 1981 Morris Mini 1000. And we've got a Stage 1 998 on an A+. So I've just finished doing the clutch on this one, hence why there's no grill in it at the moment, just to make it easier for me. So I'll go through and obviously check the typical things. I've already checked one spark plug. Now these have BP60S's in them, so it's already got the wrong heat range to start with. The plugs are actually quite clean, so that would kind of indicate that the car's probably running quite lean. So yeah, without much more to say, I'll get into it. Right, so obviously as you can see, I've got the cap and leads off and spark plugs out. Now, I was just saying how clean the plugs were to start with. Yeah, I did actually, while I was doing the clutch, I actually showed AC Dodd the spark plug colours just while I was doing the clutch. We were talking about something else on the phone, so I just thought I'd take a plug out and show him. And he was, oh, okay, cool. But anyway, because I've had the car sitting out there idling for half an hour, well, at least pretty close to it, this is what the plugs look like now. 2, 3, 4. So obviously the idle mixture is far too rich, or the spark plugs are just too cold. So yeah, obviously you can't just go off what the spark plugs are always telling you. So now I'm obviously going to go through the ignition system completely. Obviously I'll check the usual, and yeah, we'll just carry on like that. So as you can see from that, the coil is due for replacement. It's just too high for the system. So I've got the new 3 ohm coil on there. So we'll just have a look at the points really quick. And I've got this sitting on a lobe, and it's really, I mean, I do apologise that it's kind of hard to see because the camera doesn't like to focus at this distance. But there is, you probably can't tell on the camera, but there is a wee bit of movement there. The points are opening up a wee bit, so I am expecting to see a varied dwell angle once I got the timing light hooked up. So just going through the ignition timing right now, and I'll just show you what I'm seeing on here. See how it's just flickering around? So basically what that's telling me is it's just got a worn distributor. In a perfect world, I'd be changing that out. I'm going to leave it right for the minute. I'll let the customer know that that's what it's going to need. The advanced curve's looking good, but I just need to dial the ignition timing back because this is too advanced at the top end. It's mechanical, it's going into about 32, so I'm going to dial that back a wee bit just for this engine. So yeah, I'll carry on. So that's the ignition timing sorted out. Vacuum advance is working really nice. The advance curve's really good. Obviously the dwell is playing a wee bit of havoc because of the play in the distributor. But I did end up getting 51 degrees. There we go. Of full advance, mechanical and vacuum. So I'm really happy with that result too. So I did have to bring the timing back about 4 degrees from where it was. Just because obviously the mechanical side of it was just too advanced. So it's going to have a wee bit of a smoother idle, and it's going to have a better delivery as well, without actually starting to melt pistons or do anything silly once the fueling's correct. So obviously timing's just as crucial as the fueling. They've got to work together. Anyway, that's enough of that. Into this. So yeah, just going through and setting up the idle mix. I have already had to lean this one off quite a bit. There's about two whole turns on the adjuster nut, so hence why after a run the mixture probably looked really good. And then obviously after sitting for so long outside idling away, it was just rich and blackened the plugs off. So never trust the plugs unless obviously you've measured everything prior to. So the usual scenario. So just go up through the rev range on this and see what it's doing. So it's 2000 RPM, 3000. 5,000, obviously right at the end where it's just going too lean. So I'll have a look what's going on in there. It may need a carburetor spring, and it also may need a needle swap, but we'll see what's involved. Right, so obviously got that apart. AAU needle as factory, as standard of those kits. And here's the difference. Here's the old spring that came out of the carb. There's the new one going into it. So what I'm going to show you here is the results after putting a new red spring into it and going from an AAU needle to an ABD needle. Now remembering that this is particular for this engine, it's not going to work with every 998. Obviously, as I mean, some of you are obviously familiar with this man right here. He's brought out the AFA needle. Now if I need to, I do have the specs for that needle. I'm one of the AC Dodds trained tuners, and we've all got those specs, and so does Berlin, obviously, because they they manufacture the needle to his specs, and that's it. No one else actually does. So obviously it's at the moment it's a well-kept secret. So anyway, I'll go through this really quickly with you and show you what it's doing. So as you can see, it's pretty close, but obviously still a little bit too lean. Still in those 14s for this ignition system, bearing in mind that it's a 3 ohm system, and also with a essentially a worn out distributor as well. So I can't expect too much from it. So I do have to try and get that reading close to 13.8, 13.9, anything under 14, but nothing lower than 13.6 essentially. So yeah, we'll see how we go. So I've gone through and I've modified a needle basically to match what this car needs, obviously. So we'll just run through the rev range really quick and just see what's going on. Bear with me just for a moment. So yeah, as you can see, it's just heady rich, you know, just the 3.5 to 4,000-ish RPM. But I'm absolutely fine with that at the moment. It's not, you know, it's not into the low 13s as such, you know, 13.1, 13.2. So I'm really happy with that. I've already done the top end fueling on this one. Basically for the AFA spec. I'm going to take the needle back out now and recheck my entire spec just to see how close I was to AFA. So here are the readings here. Ignore this. So stations 1 through to 7. And this is already richer than the AFA needle. So yes, the AFA needle would have been a great start point, but I still would have needed to modify it. This was once upon a time an ABD needle, so yeah, obviously needed some carving. So I'll get it back together and yeah, get it finished off. Right, so this one's nearly done. What I'm going to do is I'm going to put the mobile kit onto it, take it for a drive, make sure that under acceleration the fueling's not going too lean or too rich. Now, obviously I've got the modified ABD needle, richer than the AFA specs because this beast wants to be fed. Now, it does have a drilled airbox now. It's got the K&N filter, as you can see, got a lovely sticker here, and the 10 weight oil in the dash pot. So I'll go take that for a spin very soon, but I've just had another couple of minis turn up for today, so I'll go and talk to those customers and see what the story is with them. So just taking it for a spin. Yeah, I'm really happy with it actually. The acceleration's phenomenal. You wouldn't expect it from a 998 especially, but I'll just pull the spark plug out. Bearing in mind that this had the 6s in it. Yeah, it's nice and clean. Absolutely fantastic. Nope, my job here is done. Look at this. How nice. We've got a 1275 GT here with an HI 44. It's going to be a lovely car to sort out. It is running rich, so we've got some things to change. Right, so far I've obviously taken out the spark plugs, I've taken the cap off, checked the inside of the cap. The cap's fine, it's wearing a little bit. Obviously you can see it's got a wee electronic ignition module, so I'll just make sure that nothing's loose in here. Now, obviously I've set the tappets on it. The spark plugs that were in it were BP60S's, so correct heat range, but I'll show you what they're like. So that's cylinder 4, 3, 2, 1. Now for the sake of the experiment, because apparently these aren't too old, I'm going to gap them, throw them back in, and we'll see what they're like after a tune. And just one of the ignition leads out of it. That is mega ohms, not K ohms. That is ridiculously high. Just for comparison, that is a power spark lead. We've got 1.4 K ohms. Massive improvement. So there's a wee bit of corrosion in that centre post as well on that dizzy cap, so it'll get a new, obviously the new set of leads and a new cap. Cap doesn't look terrible in there, unfortunately, but yeah, obviously that centre post lets it down. So as you can see, got the rocker cover back on it, new power spark leads, gapped the original spark plugs that had come out of it, new cap sitting there on. So basically I'm just going to, I'm basically going to fire it up, but before I do, I'm going to take the pot off this and see what needle it is and see how far down their jet tube is. Alright, so as you can hear, I've got it running. I baselined that it was actually needed to be leaned out by nearly 3 full turns. So yeah, it's got a BBW needle in it. As you'll see, there's still no air filter on it. That's actually drying at the moment because it's the K&N filter and it was actually quite dirty. So yeah, now since I've baselined it, I'll go through the ignition timing and sort that side of it out. So yeah, seems to be sitting there quite happily at the moment. Right, so I've gone through the ignition timing on it now. The vacuum advance isn't working, and the curve is, yeah, the curve's not the greatest. So I'm going to talk to the customer about replacing that At the moment I've set it so it's improved the car, but it's obviously not terrific. But yeah, as I said, I'll talk to the customer about that. Might make it the next step, but yeah, I'll get started into this and carry on. All right, so obviously as you can see, I've got it all set up now. So I'll go through the rev range on it and let's see what we've got. So as you can see from that, that's why the jet tube was wound down so far, was to compensate for how lean it is at the top end. So she wants to be fed, so we'll get a rich needle into it, go through the selection that I've got, and we'll go from there. You can see it's doing all sorts of things, so yeah, we'll wait for that to come back as well. There it goes. So I've just noticed this fluctuation where it's going to, you know, obviously it's 16 AFR, and if we just sit there and watch that, it'll dive off into the 13s. Now, there's a couple of things that can cause this, so I've just got to go through and check a couple of things out on it first. There it goes, see? Down she goes, and then basically straight up. So the carburetor's not able to control the fueling, and this could be floats sticking, the needle valve sticking, fuel pressure issues from the pump, because this doesn't actually have a regulator in it either, but I have a feeling something else is causing this. So I'm hoping I'm right, but I'll let you know if I am. So I'll see if I can show you really quick. So I'll put the camera in here. So in here, there's actually two little holes in the filter here, and I bet you my camera's not going to see it, especially with the glare and the lack of focus. But the holes in this cover are actually blocked up. So I'll unblock that and see if that's the cause of it. Right, so I've seen those holes in the that housing, and I've put that back on. I've also disconnected the wee hose off here, which is the fuel overflow. Now, it's actually pinched all the way up here, so I'll see if I can address that. And in the meantime, obviously, I'll just leave that on just for testing purposes. But obviously, as you can see, it's not fluctuating as much as what it was. Right, so now you'll notice I have a fuel pressure gauge in line, and we look at now, that is reading at about 4 to 4.5 psi. Maximum for these is 2.5. So that's going to be causing all sorts of issues for me for tuning. So I'll get in contact with the customer and see what he wants to do in that regard. Because yeah, that's going to cause all sorts of issues with overfueling, especially with hard starting after a run. Yeah, the list goes on, but that needs to be dialed back. Right, it's the next day now. As you'll see, I've now got a fuel pressure regulator on here. Now, I've just left it sitting here, just, you know, as is. It's kind of secure, but because I've talked to the customer, and I can't, for the lack of actually being able to get a glass bowl one today, or yesterday, I've settled with a Holly fuel pressure regulator that's a 1 to 4 psi. So right in that sweet little window, so you can see that's now sitting at just above 2 psi. So I'm really happy with the result on that. I'll let him mount that as he sees fit. Obviously, I don't want to drill holes in this car simply because of how clean it is. So yeah, obviously that side of it's all sorted out. So now I can get back into connecting the gas analyzer up to it and basically finishing off the corrections. So as you can see, the mixer's still wandering a little bit, but what I was having before was, obviously as you're seeing, massive range of mixture differences. So yeah, what I'll do is I'll just go up through the rev range now. I'm hoping that the readings are going to be a lot more accurate, simply because I've got that fuel pressure regulator now doing it, saying that it's not actually, the carburetor's not getting an oversupply of fuel. So I'll just, there we go. And that's quite lean right there. Yeah, obviously this needle is quite lean. We'll just see what this mixture is going to do, because what it was doing before was dropping right off into the 12s. As you can see, it's stabilised really nicely there. So yeah, obviously putting that fuel pressure regulator in it has done a world of good. So anyway, I'll go needle hunting now and see what we can find. So as you can see, got it running again. Now what I've done is I've modified a BDK needle. Obviously a number of reasons for that, but I've had to modify the BDK needle, so obviously not every one of those is going to fit this particular car. But anyway, just show you what we've now got. So yeah, I'm fairly happy with it. I just have to sort out the oil in the dash pot. Just do a couple of corrections there, or at least make sure it's correct, which obviously you can only do by measuring the exhaust output. You'll see that I have also changed the vacuum canister as well, as I'd already noticed that it was a little bit lagging. So yeah, I've got a new one of those in. It is obviously working. So yeah, I'm really happy with that side of it too. So now I've just got to do a couple of tidy up jobs. Basically just make sure that I've got my copy and fueling right. I won't be driving this one with the analyzer in it. I don't really want to be driving this one much at all, simply because of how clean it is. But I know it'll absolutely rip. Anyway, get back into it. Right, so I've got the overflow coming down the side here, just for the time being. Customer might want to tidy that up a little bit more, or put a longer piece of hose on it. They just divert it away from the exhaust, obviously. Nothing else is kinked up there. So I ended up taking the 2085 damper out of it, and going back to the 1507 damper it had. Now this has got ATF oil in it, and that's been modified. So yeah, it's wee bit of, a few things going on in there. Obviously to correct the fueling under acceleration, but again, that's one of those things you need to measure it to be able to be sure of what you're doing. So yeah, new leads, cap, canister, fuel pressure regulator set to about 2.2, 2.5 psi, which is perfect for an HI 44. I've cleaned and oiled the K&N filter, so she's ready for a drive. So I just thought I'd show off this lovely 1275 GT. The owner has done a fantastic job with the restoration on it. Cannot go wrong with that. So anyway, I'll turn the car off and I'll pull the spark plug out, and let's see what it's like. So I'll set this up over here. I've taken it for about a 5-kilometre trip. So hopefully, if you all remember this, what the spark plugs look like, which were black, taking out cylinder number 2. Now, unfortunately, it hasn't quite cleaned up as well as I'd hoped because it's still quite black, which can happen, especially with plugs that have been fouled up before. So I'll take the others out as well and see if any others have improved. If not, we may have to go to a hotter range. That might be a signal of oil burning or bad cylinder pressure. So I'll get the others out and see what else we've got. See, that one's just starting to clean up a wee bit, which is what you'd expect to see. But again, I'd expect to see it a little bit cleaner than that. Same again. I've seen this happen one other time, and that could just be down to the amount of times the plugs have been fouled up. Yeah, that one's starting to clean up, but it's still black. So, sorry Ryan, your new plugs haven't fared well. I'll get some 5s into it and see what that does. So these are the old BP6s that I have just put to the side. I've put a new set in. These would probably clean up after a really long drive, but that's not what I'm after at the moment. So for the sake of what these spark plugs are worth, I've put a new set in, gap to 25 thousandths, and we'll get a move on again and see if that's all it was. If obviously they're still dark, there's something else going on here that's causing them to go dark. Like again, bad valves, low cylinder pressure, which may obviously need a slightly hotter spark plug range, like a BP5 ES, or unfortunately I don't quite know my Champion range that well, but you know, obviously it's a slightly hotter version of what these are. But I'll take it for another drive and we'll see what they're like. Right, so I've just gone for a 10-kilometre drive in the GT with new spark plugs on it, and yeah, we'll just see how they've cleaned up, and if they've cleaned up. So obviously if they haven't, it'll be a fairly good indication that something else isn't quite right. I'll take number 3 out, remembering that these are the same heat range as well as the ones that I've just taken out. Yeah, a wee bit dark. So there's something else going on with this, which would indicate potential oil burning. So I do believe that's the reason for the plugs getting a wee bit darker. See that they're just a wee bit clean, but obviously not where I need them. I'm going to go up to the BP5s now. So I've got BP5 ES spark plugs in there. I've just taken cylinder number 1 out, and you'll see it's clean, but not as clean as what I want it to be. This is going to be one of those in-between ranges. Now, the speeds I was doing on the road test just now varied from 50 kilometers an hour to some open road at 100 kilometers an hour, cruising as well. I would have expected all 4 of those spark plugs to look like that, but again, there's some underlying issues, which unfortunately require a heater grade of spark plug. Right, let's try this again. I'll take cylinder 3 out. It's certainly better. Still a few deposits forming on it, unfortunately. Take number 1 out because that was actually the best out of the other lot. Yeah, that's more like it. Well, let the customer know, but that's as good as we're going to get that burn. And at least I'm happy with that result, rather than a set of plugs that are going to keep fouling up. So I have actually done a cylinder leak down test on this one and a compression test, just to make sure that the mechanical seal of the engine was all right. What I found was basically 175 psi right across the board with low leakage. But obviously with the amount of oil that are down the bores, a bit of a false reading. So you can't always trust those tests. Obviously it showed that it didn't have any valve issues or a head gasket issue, but yeah, it's definitely oil control rings from glazed bores. So yeah, unfortunately this one's better than what it was, but it needs some more work. So yeah, as you can see, I was getting a little bit disheartened on that one, mainly because, you know, obviously it was burning oil and needing a hotter heat range of spark plugs. It's not the end of the world. So yeah, obviously Ryan's got some bits and pieces that need to be done on that. It's more than drivable as it is. So he's just got to keep an eye on those spark plugs, make sure they're going to keep cleaning themselves, basically. But anyway, he'd sent me a message. I'll put that up just before the end of the video, just so you can have a read of that. But yeah, he was very pleased with it. I haven't actually heard from the other customers, but they basically loaded the car up on a trailer and went north with it, so didn't really get a chance to see their reaction. But bear in mind, it does remind me I need to get in contact with them and just see how they got on with it. But anyway, that's enough of that. That's enough of this video. If you like this one, please like, share, subscribe, and comment, all that fun stuff. And we'll see you all in the next video, which I can't even remember what those cars are. I believe there's another modified 998 in there. But yeah, we'll get into that later. Anyway, until then, we'll see you later.